So good afternoon to one and all present here. So we will start the session now. So where the glacier meets the sky, the land ceases to be earthly and the earth becomes one with the heavens. No sorrows live there anymore, and therefore joy is not necessary. Beauty alone lives here, beyond all demands. With these mesmerizing lines, let's start today's seminar. A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. I welcome you all for the much awaited panel discussion with a very intriguing topic, that is melting glaciers, challenges and the road ahead. Before we directly jump onto a topic, it really gives me immense pleasure to introduce our intellectual panelist before you all. Our very first panelist is Mr. V Selvarajan, the founder of Green Circle. He is currently the managing director of the Diligence Academy. He has 3 years of banking experience coupled with 15 years exposure in credit appraisal and 8 years work experience as the banking domain trainer. Next, we have Ms. Shriti Goel. So now I would like to invite the professor and the deputy director, Dr. Itinder Pal, for the inaugural addressing of the seminar. Please, sir.
Thank you, Kajal. I hope I am audible to everyone. Good afternoon. Today, Professor Jha did share a picture of around 10 years back when we kind of thought of the idea of having an eco club, and it was an immensely successful competition. It was an inter-college competition, and I saw the pictures.
So now, with high regards, I would request Mr. V Selvarajan sir to put his field of vision, panorama and perspective on the above issue. Please, sir.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. I am very pleased to be with the youngsters, and incidentally our introducer told that 3 years of experience in banking. That made me feel as if I am very young, though I am 65 plus. Anyway, so nice of you. But the thing is, the first time when I heard about this melting of the glaciers was when I was 25 or 30 years old only. By the time we are not aware of what is happening in the world or climate change, nothing was known to us. So today I would like to share my experience, because I have been in the environmental field for about 40 years along with my banking career. So I think I can throw some light on what I understand about these melting glaciers. Okay. I think almost many of the students who are sitting here might have seen me also when I used to come to your institute. Really happy that you all participated in Saturdays from Dance, as your director has told. Now let me go to the talk without wasting my time, because my time is very limited, and not only my time is limited, the globe's time is also limited. Glaciers are melting. Okay. Cyclones, floods, quakes and droughts. So many things we are hearing. Every day in the media we are having headlines, especially in India and in the globe as well as when we are hearing that lots of disasters are happening. According to a World Meteorological Department report, China has lost $238 billion, while India has lost around $87 billion. That India is second. China is number one always, and India is number two. We have lost so much revenue because we need to prepare ourselves, and all that physical and human lives which have been affected. Total in numerical terms, if you are putting it, it is 238 billion for China, and India it is 87 billion. Well, such a big losses which has happened in the last few years, and it is everybody's guess that the earth is getting heated up, and it is heating very fast nowadays. And everybody is almost talking about climate change. Especially, I think you may be knowing that in the 2016, the year 2016 and 2020, these were the warmest years as far as the NASA records are going on. So now all of us know that climate is changing, though as director has rightly pointed out, it is not seen or it is not felt so much immediately. But today everyone has started talking about climate change because we feel the brunt, we feel the pinch of it. Let me take 2021 for instance. Whether the climate is changing, yes, 2021, let us take it, and we have obvious evidence. Rather, I can say we have got obvious evidence, not exactly in the form of glacier melting, but we have seen it in the form of several cyclones. Say, take it as Gulab up in Andhra Pradesh in September, Yash in Odisha in somewhere in May, 2021, Tauke in Gujarat in May, and Maharashtra floods. All of you know that Maharashtra floods in July, and Tamil Nadu floods, havoc it has created in November. And $87 billion is a very conservative effort, concerted estimate, I would like to say, because in my opinion, it might have definitely crossed $100 billion total losses. So we oldies who lived in the 20th century, like your director, myself, Srirang Jaji, and all these things, we all were living in the old century also, 20th century also, and we have seen how our lives were in the olden days. There also there were cyclones, there were floods. In 20th century also, when I was a young boy also. But today, in the 21st century, we are hearing a lot about the disasters. Every day and there is a disaster management is going on in India also. So there was a devastating tsunami. I think all of you know in the starting of this century, in the first, I think 2004. I'm not sure what was the exact year, but it was this century started with the tsunami. And India was one of the badly affected, lots of cyclones and floods, everything we are hearing, and day after day. Suddenly there is a downpour, in Delhi in last but 1 month, we had a lot of downpour, and it was unprecedented, and we were all saying that why it is happening. These are all due to climate change. Everyone knows that now. That is why I am saying that everyone is talking about the climate change, and people are saying there is a climate exigency, climate emergency. Yes, the answer is yes, we are having a climate emergency. At this rate, the fate of this planet is posing a question mark whether we are nearing our end. I'm sorry to say that we are nearing our end. I'll justify why I'm telling like that. As per NASA, the climate change nearly had 7 times happened in the last 650,000 years. NASA is saying 7 times climate change has occurred in the planet Earth. The climate change is not a new one, but what is new is the man-made climate change, which is a great worry, and it is going to be a suicidal one also, unless we take immediate steps for it. Now, I would like to talk about the doomsday. Is our doomsday nearing? Perhaps you might have heard about what is doomsday. The planet Earth, even when I was a college student and when I was in the starting of my environmental career, we were talking about the doomsday. Doomsday means the planet Earth is roaming around, it is coming around sun, and it is like a spiral. If you are putting a ball in the rope, and if you are swinging it, it will come to a standstill one day. But that standstill will happen 1 or 2, several million years later, because that is what the researchers have been doing. So in our young age, we were comfortable, we were not bothered about it. But today, when researchers have started saying that the climate emergency is happening, the doomsday is nearing or coming close, whether this is going to be in this century, everyone is keeping its fingers crossed. Now, what is melting glacier all to do with these things, you may be asking. I'll tell you.
Melting and recouping is natural as Earth is revolving around the Sun. But if the melting is faster, then the equations mess up. 400 cubic kilometers are lost during the last few centuries. Himalayas especially is melting at a faster speed. During the last 40 years, Himalayan glaciers are reduced by 10 times when comparing to the last 700 years, that is 7 centuries. The melting ice of Himalayas can raise the entire global sea level by 1.38 millimeter. Understand this carbon connection in this regard. Let's go back to the history. In 1950s, carbon dioxide was at 320 particle per million, but in 2020, the particles are 420 particle per million. That means 100 particles have increased. It is due to the industrial and automobile emissions which lead to the greenhouse effect. The trapped carbon and the greenhouse gases lead to global warming. The trees absorb the carbon. The trees are the only things which are absorbing the carbon, but burning of biomass and fossil fuel also adds. Forests give way to infrastructure for projects because we are going on, destructing the forest like anything. Global warming leads to a climate change. The result is glaciers melt faster. We need to know that it is getting heated up, the planet Earth is getting heated up. That is why we are losing the glaciers very fast. Melting this glacier at a faster speed. Should the glaciers melt or not? Maximum glaciers are there in North Pole, South Pole, and the third pole, that is Himalayas and the Tian Shan range. This third pole is more dangerous because the melting of glacier is faster in this area. And 2 billion people are dependent on this melting glacier. How? The people from Afghan to Myanmar, or including China or India, are dependent on the melted water which is flowing into our rivers. The excessive melting disturbs the ecological balance. When there is more melting, there will be a lot of flooding, frequent landslides, cloud bursting, everything may happen. The prediction is that the Himalayas will heat up by 4.4 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. When the Himalayas heat up, glaciers melt and the water from this Himalayan area goes into the rivers. Rivers carry the water to the oceans. The sea levels increase and it ultimately will end up in submerging several countries like Bangladesh or Singapore. Well, in order to stop the melting of glaciers, the entire global countries came together in Paris. The Paris Accord was signed by 195 countries in the year 2016. The agreement was to keep the global warming below 2 degrees above the pre-industrialization level, because before industrialization there was not much of carbon emission. So that level has been calculated for keeping the temperature little above the pre-industrialization level. Even if it is kept as 1.5 degree above the pre-industrialization level, it will be a great step against the climate change. But the question arises whether this will help the stoppage of melting of glaciers to the expected level. Now, it is predicted that in the next 5 years, the temperature will anyhow rise to 1 degree. That is 1.5 degrees is our target, but it is going to rise by 1 degree by another 5 years. So there is a climate exigency or climate emergency. So even if the member countries implement that maintaining 1.5 degree above the pre-industrialization level, it will not be sufficient to sustain ourselves because the Himalayas is expected to heat up by 4 degree by the end of 2100. Whether these predictions by the scientists are correct or not, this is an apprehension in the minds of a few people. Of course, there are limitations to predictions and scientists are also human beings. But the fact remains that we do not know anything about the future must give us little more caution, little more apprehension that the planet Earth will collapse one day very soon. And what is the solution? Minimize the consumption, minimize the energy, conserve nature, control deforestation, reduce emission of greenhouse gases, stop biomass and fossil fuel burning. Needed a sustainable development model. If we don't control emissions and deforestation, global warming will take place, glaciers will start melting, there will be floods and disasters, and the sea levels will rise, and a doomsday will be nearing. Therefore, think globally and act locally. Thank you very much.